Today on Gamer's Couch,
Pillars of the Earth.
Good morning! Happy Sunday. I'm not sure if he said pillars of the earth or pillows of the earth. I would like to go to sleep. Right. We're pretty tired today, so sorry if we fuck up even more than we usually do.
Yeah.
My name is Sarah. I'm the artist behind Pinselgeschichten, owner of this channel, and wife of this lovely and beautiful person next to me, Daniel. Sweet hubby, board gamer, nerd,
Drinker of water.
sarcastic kind of a person. And a very big fan of Lego. So we are going back to the ancient beginnings of Lego today and
I was
try to build
thinking,
a
okay,
cathedral.
what's the angle of your story going in?
I
Okay.
thought it was obvious because it's blocks that you play with when you're a kid, and Lego is for the advanced kids. And
It's
no,
for the advanced prior to build a cathedral with Lego.
prior to Lego, there were wooden blocks and stones, and people built houses, also big ones, with it, hence a cathedral. We're going to talk about this game today, going as per usual, like every week, rules and gameplay first. We show you a few turns too. Then we go about what we liked or not liked about this game and finish up with funny stories and experiences. Since we don't have a Draw for Initiative episode next week, we have a pause there.
This will be short.
Yes, let me tell you what we published last week, so you can hop over there if you want to see Tina and I paint board game artwork. We painted scenes of Blood Rage, and since it was a special episode, it was the 40th, we painted with coffee. So hop on over, links in the iCards.
Meaning both of them just had a cup of coffee in their hand while painting. And
No.
then it's painting with coffee.
No,
It's like painting with vodka. It's the same,
Oh,
it's the same technique.
no, I even got one of the Ethiopian espresso parts that from back in the day. We painted with the Italian and the Ethiopian coffee. Anyway, let's start rules and gameplay
Talking about back in the day.
of Pillars of the Earth.
Yes. Now, you are in the fortunate position of having someone trying to tell you what Pillars of the Earth is about who actually has never read the book or heard the audiobook and just played the board game.
Doesn't matter, I will fill that void. Usually it's me who says, I haven't played this video game, I haven't seen the movie, I'm just coming to the board game. This time it's the other way around, yay.
I'm not that knowledgeable about how this specific cathedral was built in the book, but I think, wasn't it a real thing? It's like an almost was it a novel based on facts somehow, or based on a true story?
No, it's not a true story, but the cathedral really exists and it was really built at that time, but all the characters in the books are pretty much fictional, all there.
So it's old history.
Yeah, it's fake history.
No post-fact history. Okay, I see. See, this political stuff is just a gift that keeps on giving. Let's build
A cathedral.
one of God's houses, in this case, a cathedral. Your job is to gain the most victory points. Let's be frank about this. This is a board game. So ultimately, you try to gain the most victory points, and doing so, you will try to acquire resources and use them to build parts of the cathedral. In this game, this actually comes with parts of a cathedral, which is pretty nice. The resources are not that complicated. There's only 4 available. We have stone, and we have wood, and we have sand. No, it's not sand. What's it called? Kies is the German word, and I'm entirely blanking on the
Rubble?
gravel?
Gravel. Gravel.
I think.
Gravel. Yes.
My Minecraft knowledge is coming back to me.
Otherwise, it's gonna be in the lower bar. I will have edited.
And metal, which no, not the long-haired one. This is
Thank you.
just the one that's used to make the German lesson of the day, the Blitzableiter, which is the thing you put on top of houses that will make lightning go to the ground and not into your TV or other power
Coffee
outlets.
machine.
So this game is played in 3 phases over 6 rounds. They all follow a very strict order, so this is almost like going to church. And as a starting player, I would begin. We both have some money to start off with. We have our workers, which are these little dudes that we can commit to do something. And it is probably one of those games that is easiest explained by just going through the motions of a round. So I prepared already the first round. And me being the starting player, I get to make the first decision of the game. So, and in the beginning, we ignore everything that's on the, well, not entirely ignore what's on the board, but for the most part, don't care much about the board. But we have 2 new craftsmen put out here, and these 7 resource cards that we will now try to draft / bid for. Since I'm the first to go, I can decide if I want to pick up one of those cards. If I should pass, I'm out of this entire drafting thing, and Sarah would be very happy, but I'm not going to do that. So what do we have available here? Well, there's a fixed set of 9 resource cards from which we will always pick 7 at random and put them out here. And they cover the gravel, the stone, and the wood. And these cards, let me hold it to the main camera.
But it's gonna be on the small one. Please go for
Hold it up to the other main camera.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
While I'm looking awkwardly into the other camera. So these cards show you what they give you. In this case, this would give me 3 wooden pieces of stone, which are these here.
I was thinking for a second, like, what?
Was that confusing?
Yeah.
Okay, so 3 stone, and to do that, I need to send off 8 of my work slaves to cut the stone to retrieve it to me. If I pick that up, I'll just place it next to me and then commit as many people, and both of us have 12 guys, small guys that are just 1 worker and 1 slightly bigger guy that counts for 5 workers. So if I want to pick up these 3 stones, I will put my 8 guys here because it says 8, and it'll give me 3 stones. Other stuff I could have picked, so these are the resources, are these 2 craftsmen. We already start with 3 default craftsmen, and these correspond to our 3 major resources on the board, and we will use them later in the game to convert those resources into victory points. So for example, this friendly fellow here can convert 2 stone into 1 victory point, and he can do that up to 4 times per round. This guy picks up 3 gravel and creates 1 victory point, and he can do that 3 times per round. And this wood guy is using
Carpenter.
2 wood to do 1 victory point, also up to 4 times. Now, if you take a look at what we have available here, this is the same card essentially as what I'm starting with, but it's slightly better because this guy only needs 2 gravel to generate 1 victory point. And this one is entirely new, and he can convert stone to victory points on a 1-to-1 ratio, but can only do that twice. There's a limit to how many workers we can have, so a maximum of 5 cards can be in front of us, but you can replace workers with others if you want to. However, there's a slight caveat because, there's a combo going on between the workers. You need certain workers to be able to do certain actions. So, just as a fair warning, the game comes with a little reminder card that tells you if you are missing any of these three guys that also have a little exclamation mark next to it, to their name, you may not have all the options available at a later game. So here it would actually say, if you don't have this guy, all of these guys will never generate any victory points for you. So if I wanted to pick him up later on, I want to make sure that I always keep one of these guys in my set. The stone cutter, if I don't have one of him, I cannot later use the market, which is a place on the board, to do that. And last but not least, if I don't have a carpenter, I am also limited in the market in that I cannot buy wood from the market. But we'll get to that once we get to the market. So far, I'm content with picking up a couple of stones, and it's
I'm going to spend 9 workers. I'm going to send them into the woods to cut some wood for me so that I can have 4 woodies later on.
I see. Now, since I'm already getting stone, I think it is prudent to go with the stone guy. So I have to pay 5 coins to get him, as the card top says here. Where do I have my money? It is right here. So money is always just shuffling your little disc around this thing. So I'm on 20 coins. I will move down to 15 and buy this stone craftsman.
I will put 2 people into the gravel pot, German Kiesgrube.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that because I have to look it up on the dictionary if it's actually correct. If not, there's going to be a word somewhere printed on the screen. I'm done.
I see.
Totally done.
Now the question for me is, do I want to pick up... I could go for this guy, and then I need some gravel. I could actually try to do that. I still have 4 workers here. Workers that I do not commit to any card will go over here to the wool factory, and they will generate 1 gold per worker that is sent there. So... that is not some kind of compensation. It is the only or one of the major ways for you to get money. So you actually want to consider keeping a couple of guys left over to do that. So first big kind of decision, do you want to already go early into victory points and try to get those, or do you want to go for some money and have some other advantages? Money is not only used to buy these guys, but also in a later stage, or actually in the next stage or phase of the game. I think with my 3 stone, am I good? Now I'm thinking I could pick up this guy here, but then it's not guaranteed that I can get the only gravel card that I can afford. How many workers do you have?
I just got 1 left.
Oh, okay.
You're safe.
So I'm safe. So let's do this. I'm going for this guy, which right now I actually have 2 of them, so I could convert 2 3 times and 3 times with both of those, so they don't immediately replace each other, only if I'm getting to a maximum of my 5 workers.
So I'm not gonna do anything with the Duda. I'm just gonna send him to the wool shop. And
it's a factory.
He has to cuddle with the sheep.
He has to work those sheep.
He has to cuddle. Wow. He has to cuddle with the sheep.
He's a sheep worker. Okay, and for my last 4 Dudas, I'll send them over here to the gravel pit and pick up the last card that I can actually afford. And we're good with that. We don't get our resources just yet. That actually happens in the last phase of the round. Before that, we now go to a little, action selection kind of part. And that is where the other, quest for money comes from. We have this little bag here that has workers in them that we draw, and
they're actually the builders. They're the Baumeisters.
Okay,
they're not the workers.
So these are not just random worker pieces. They are the builders.
Mm-hmm. They're the bosses of the people that we send into the woods. And
since I'm the starting player, I draw out all these guys that we have here, and
yay, it's me!
Now, I have once per turn the option to put this the figurine back and then draw a different one if I want to. So how this works is there's a piece, a marker here that indicates how costly it is to send this builder onto the boards, and I place the builder there. Meaning, Sarah now has, a choice. She can either pass, and that will leave her guy here and reduce the cost for the next guy to 6, or she can pay 7 gold, and that is the other major way how you spend your money, to be able to place this guy onto any of those round little spots on the board and use the effect that is going on. Don't worry, we're going through all of these effects in order once we are done with the selecting.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I want to make sure that my little maestro goes to the bishop.
Okay.
He's gonna sit there and be very Christian.
Now, regardless, we are moving to 6 gold, and the next one is, it's mine. Do I want to pay 6 gold? I don't think so. I'm using my right to put him back, and with my luck, I will draw him just right
or
again.
Another of the.
Or the
there's
other one.
3 of each.
Yes.
Babe. Oh.
You know what? I'm going to spend this. So I'm now spending 6 gold, and I will place my guy here, which kind of reserves a card for me at a later stage. And we're down to 5 gold. Let me speed this up. Do you want to pay 5 gold to place your guy? Okay, so Sarah's Duda will stay here. And it's mine. I also don't want to spend any more money. There's only 2 left. Once those 2 are out, the cost goes to 0. If you're playing with more than 2 players, you may realize that you will hit the 0 cost part a little bit earlier, which is obviously to the advantage of players who will be drafted last. Do you want to pay 3 gold to place this guy? And
I've done the important thing for me. And the rest is only bonus.
I might be mistaken, but I'm also too lazy to look that up right now. I'm pretty sure it says once the last last figurine was placed, this goes to 0. So I assume that I don't have to pay the 2 coins. If I'm wrong about that, there you go. We are not perfect. So I'm assuming that I don't have to pay.
You are not.
Sorry. So what do I want to do? I should have thought about that a little bit earlier.
Well, that's a real-time podcast.
You know what?
Here. We don't have time restrictions.
I'm also going for the other card because both are really good.
Now it's my turn.
From the 5.
But you took the... Oh, yeah. I always forget.
So once all of us have placed their figurines,
short-sighted.
You go back and go through all those that have passed, and now they can just place them without having to pay anything in that regard. I'm going here because I can.
And I'm going here.
Okay.
Because I can.
So that was the second phase where we just committed all our builders. Now the game is very simple because it's all these spaces have numbers and you start with 1 and go all the way to 14 and just do whatever is going on with each thing. Number 1, however, is an event card. Some of them may be positive, some may be negative. So what we have this time?
To protect the cathedral, there has to be a city wall built. In the next round, each player may only commit 2 of their builders.
So for the next turn, we would leave 1 of each color out and be just limited in our actions that we have. Now, beginning with number 2, that space is already tied or directly tied to that event because since Sarah has a builder there, she can now decide if she wants to ignore that event, which wouldn't be necessarily bad, because then she has an additional builder. Or she gets one resource from the market, which she can pick free of charge.
I want to do the latter. I want to pick one gravel.
Okay, and off she goes. Now in number 3, all the workers that said here generate 1 coin for their owners. So Sarah gets her worker back and gets a coin. On 4, I'm getting the cards that I selected here, which are both pretty rad, by the way. This card generates a stone per turn per round, and this generates a wood per round without me having to pick
Workers.
Well, actually, it's not just auto-generating. I have to get a card, and I just get an additional piece of wood once I do that. But with those 2, I think I'm pretty good for the rest of the game if I now am able to focus my workers and resource gathering efforts onto those 2 spaces. Number 5 just gives victory points as printed on the board. So Sarah is now 2 points ahead of me, and this is our victory point tracker that we have here.
Next
that we have here.
We'll go to the woods.
Now, exactly. Now we go to the woods, and Sarah picks up as many pieces of wood as her card indicates.
And then I give the card back.
And then,
because I'm a nice girl,
those cards all go back, because we will pick 7 new cards for the next turn later on. After picking up wood, it is my turn to get 3 pieces of stone from here.
You're super stoned.
And I'm also retrieving my workers. Then we both get gravel. I get 3 pieces of gravel.
I get 2. And I get my workers.
Our workers go back. Now, unfortunately, it is the Middle Ages, and in the Middle Ages there was something terrible invented called the tax. That is a bad thing that continues to be present even today. It's one of the great horrors of the year when you have to do tax declaration. However, if you go to space number 9, you are so charming to the king that you don't have to pay taxes, which means I don't have to pay tax. However, we still need to roll the die of tax. This is, by the way, this is how governments do taxes.
I think so too. Mr. Schäuble is just gonna roll a die. It's a nice picture in my head.
Every player now has to pay 3 gold if they don't have any
1, 2, 3.
their guys committed there. The first player to place his builder here also gets the resource that is on display, and that is always 1 piece of metal. Metal is a rare good. This is one of the only few ways to get that. So I might want to hold on to that. Some cards will make use of that. In fact, if we take a look after I retrieve this guy, I don't put it back in the bag because only 2 workers next turn. If we would have placed our builders here, we would have gotten the worker that is on display. I could have tried to go for the tool maker, which has a feature that says he generates 2 coins per round if I have a piece of metal. The piece of metal is actually not used up. You just need it to activate him to do that.
Activate.
And otherwise you have an upgraded version of the carpenter. But none of us took that, so we actually...
I go to the job center and hire extra workers.
Yes. Since Sarah is here, she gets 2 of these extra guys that she can then use next turn to gather resources. Mm-hmm. If one of us would have gone to the market, we could have sold resources or bought resources. There's 4 spaces here, and if you have multiple workers or multiple builders there, it is in order as they arrived. You get to decide what you want to sell and what you want to buy from your goods. Obviously, metal can only be sold there, so if I went there, I could have sold my metal for 5 coins, which is the maximum to get out of there. Then we go to 13, and 13 is kind of the quasi-official end of the round, because now we will construct the cathedral, and for that we place our first piece of the cathedral here, and will now try to convert our resources into victory points as well, as much as it makes sense.
I have prepared something. I have 1 victory point for 3 gravel and 2 victory points for 4 wood. I'm gonna get back the resources, and I got 3 victory points. Victory!
For me,
1, 2, 3.
I can exchange 2 gravel into 1 victory point, and 2 stones for also 2 victory points.
So you get 3 as well.
I get 3 as well. Card goes back. Number 14 would have been the next starting player. Since nobody picked that, I'm going to be the starting player for the next turn. And that is pretty much it. Just one little thing. I still have 3 resources on hand. You are unfortunately limited to a maximum of 5 resources that you may keep. So while that piece of metal is really good in some instances, it also limits me on the other resources I might keep. But this kind of mechanic also encourages you to really use your builders or craftsmen as well as possible to get the most out of what you have available. That is the reason why I didn't spend, let's say, 3 gravel for 1 victory point. But sometimes you have to spend them because you're going, or you will spend them because you're going to lose the resource anyway if you have more than 5 left at the end of the turn. So as I said, we're playing this over 6 rounds. Each round comes with its own set of new craftsmen. We will always place the first 2 on the board. So these are the ones that you can get by placing your guy there. The other 2 go to our drafting space down here. We will again pick 7 new resource cards, and I'll just put them down here without doing the big
explanation.
Well, you should arrange them by resource type, but I'll just put them down here.
I'm extremely short-sighted, folks, and I have to tell the joke to hubby. Guess what I read here? Biergrube. Just one like a pub.
It's
Sorry.
So this event will now affect us this turn. I already kept the guys out of here. I will just leave it here just to remind us. However, on turn 1...
we have to refill the market and put the metal here.
Yes, a new metal goes to the king.
And then you start over.
And yes, that. And we need to refill these 2. So there's a deck of cards that will be placed here. There's 2 special cards. These 2 here with that are specifically marked. These will be placed in the last turn. That's why we put them aside. Technically, you would shuffle them, and put them at the bottom. But that doesn't really require any. It's enough if it's next to the board. You've seen us play an entire turn. There's nothing left to do. The next part will be more of the cathedral will be built.
This is pretty nice because it's the round markers. There's exactly 6 pieces.
And yes, once the 6th round is done, you have this beautiful little wooden cathedral on the board.
Yeah, and this is what the victory points will very likely look like.
Yes.
Or not. Yeah, and I guess that's that. Shall we hop into the next section, or do you want to say player number and stuff?
I think you're now good with how this is played. It's essentially this 6 times. Always first draft cards, then you will do the action selection, thinking about, do you want to pay money to be the first to go, or do you want to wait and risk that someone else is picking off or picking away one of the really good cards that are on here, and then you just run through all the actions and do what's going on, or do what they do. So By the way, those two special workers that Sarah got, she has to give them away, unfortunately, at the end of this turn, so she can use them to get the resources, but they go back to the the castle of Shiring.
It's the job center.
And can be rehired then by someone else in a later turn. I think, yeah, that's it. So
let's hop into likes and dislikes.
Oh, by the way, this game is for 2 to 4 players. There's, except for the rule that the cost here is reduced to 0 after all the guys have been pulled from the bag, there's, I think, there was no other rule that gets modified. So this is one of the cool games that has the same rule set for 2, 3, and 4 players. Although it plays a little bit differently just from the feel with more
Yeah, we're
players.
going to talk about that in the final
get to that,
section.
yes. It's let me check what the box says. The box says you have to be 12 years or larger to enjoy this game.
It's called older. There's words for it.
Okay, so 12 years or bigger. And this game takes 90 to 120 minutes, which for 4 players, yes, I think if you've played this once or twice, 90 minutes is
I'm going to come
more
back
likely
to
than 100.
the timing in a second here, since I will start with what I like or not like. I will put one thing out right away, and that ties back to the time. I think this is a beginner's game for the mechanic of worker placement and drafting. And once you're familiar with the mechanics, you definitely play way faster. So the 90 minutes would actually be more for the 4 players, and you have played a round or two. With 3 or 2 players, it's even less time. So it's a rather quick game.
I'd also advise to kind of, well, I mean, it always depends on your group, but don't let I have to think about what I'm drafting next thing go out of board.
No.
There's a couple of situations here where someone with analysis paralysis might clog up the entire thing, starting with which resource card to take, then going off with a decision, do I want to play my guy or don't I want to play my guy? Then the next thing is, where do I want to place the guy if I want to play him?
But that's with every worker placement drafting game.
Yes,
somebody with AP is
just saying,
clock up.
if you have someone in your group, just be aware there's at least 3 congestion points when it comes to decision making.
You could have a clock or something with you for like 30 seconds,
I personally don't like pressuring someone with a clock. I just prefer
it has to be reasonable
with guilt.
You know? He's pretty bad then with the sarcasm. Anyway, let's get back to the likes and dislikes. Now, yes. I just glanced at the box, and funny enough, this game is 10 years old. It says gaming price 2007, so it should be published 2006. It's about 10 years old. And it has aged well, I think. It's not... I would categorize this, like I said, as a beginner's game. It might be a little too thin with what's going on for very seasoned gamers, especially in the drafting, that are familiar with the drafting or worker placement games, so the Euros, so to say. But it is still a very good beginner's game for these mechanics, I think. So I like that it aged well, and that it is still theme-wise nice and fitting to... fit in the 21st century and to still be interesting enough or nice enough to, fit in 2017, and that you could still put it on the table. Not everybody says, ugh, like they do with Monopoly, for example. The game of, the theme of money is just, whatever. But building churches or cathedrals, it's still pretty cool. So I like that it aged well. I like that it's very fastly played when you're a seasoned player and you want to play worker placement / drafting games, you don't have to spend 2 hours. You can spend 45, 60 minutes. You're good to go. Since this is a rather simple game, meaning you do the same thing over and over and over again over 6 rounds, you just set the thing up and you go. You might have to look up 1 or 2 rules if you haven't played it for a while, but this is very intuitive, I think, the way the board is set up.
Actually,
and I like that a lot.
Actually, one of my plus points, if I may interject,
sure.
is since the structure of this game follows this, you go around the clock and just do one space after the other. The manual also encourages you to just get started, and even though you might not know what each space is doing, you'll know after one turn what everything is doing. Pretty much like what we just did with you, walking you through one of all of these options, and it is really nice to learn and to get started.
Yeah, it's like it's very intuitive. I think it's very logic. The way the board is set up, the way the turns and the rounds are set up. I do like that every player gets one of these cards. On the back it says, remember, you cannot do this and this if you don't have this kind of craftsman in your employ. And on the front it says all the phases, all the steps. So you always have something to glance at if you're unsure what comes next, which is very nice when you start off a new game. I do like the artwork and stuff. It's nothing fancy, but it reminds me, I think it is the same artist that made Legends of Andor.
I was about to say this when I got this game as
he got it
calendar gift.
Yeah, right.
And we put it out without
hold on,
without looking at the box, just looking at the board. I immediately said, "This must be by Michael Menzel," because it is it's gorgeous,
very Andorian
book. And that has nothing to do with this game, but if you're familiar, for example, with the old computer game franchise Settlers from the Germany, this has a very similar graphical vibe to it. It's, I mean, not only because everybody's building something on here, but it's this whimsical, but there's a lot going on the board. It's just interesting to look at. There's small little details everywhere, and this brings a lot of theme to the game. This could be very dry if essentially it's just, hey, these are 3 types of resources for if you count metal as well. And these are conversion actions, and you just if you would go abstract with this, I think the game would also work.
But would it be as enjoyable?
I mean, I think it's a moot question. If the game was present first, and then they decided to put the theme on it by picking the Ken Follett's book and doing that, or if they designed the game with that in mind.
Well, we would have to ask somebody.
That being said, I think that's a good point for a really strong game if both of these parts can stand alone on its own. Yeah. I think this game mechanically could also work for me as an abstract game. I'd be totally fine with that. Maybe a little bit minimalistic with these conversion actions, but it's not too different from other games that are simpler. Well, that's a bad comparison, but something like Favor of the Pharaoh, where you have little cards that give you different types how to manipulate your game flow. Exactly. And this is how these crafters felt to me. But on the other hand, as I said, this board even looks gorgeous enough to draw me into and make me a little bit more interested in what's going on here. However, I don't think I'm super interested in the story that this is based on, so I won't go all fangirly if I see that the names of the guys on the cards are actually correspond with characters.
So we're not gonna listen to the audiobook week by week while we play.
No.
Okay. Which is actually leads me to the last part. I really like the cathedral. I like that not only that you build something here, but it's 6 pieces. It's the 6 rounds where you all build the cathedral. It's just a nice little way of counting how many rounds you have put. It would have been enough with the numbers on the cards, but hey, you're building a cathedral.
Yeah, it's
nice.
It's cool to have, even if it doesn't have the biggest of practical effects. But
I don't care, but it's the center of the game board. It's just very aesthetic. It looks very nice, and the quality of the wooden pieces is nice enough that you really like to touch them. And it wouldn't be like that. Would it be plastic or something? It's yay, wood, awesome. So yeah.
I also, and this is, I think, not atypical for a Cosmos game. This is a really good family game. So again, player counts 2 to 4 is pretty much on target when you're going for a family game. I think the medieval feel to it, without having any real conflict in there, lends itself to being a family game. You're getting into each other's hair somehow with the decisions you make, but there's no open confrontation. So if you, let's say, have siblings that are about to murder each other over game decisions, this is the only point where there might be some aggression going on, but it's not a take that kind of game. It's very Euro style for that. And I think even today, I mean, even after 10 years, having little resource blocks that represent crafting stuff. If you have a kid that's into Minecraft, I think it's quite easy to sell them on, hey, you can buy wooden cubes that represent the resources you have to build this blocky cathedral. That itself might be cool as well.
I think I would have liked that as a teenager, as a board game. So it's just, it's very nice. And again, it aged well.
And it's I think it's light enough on the drafting thing. However, I think it's fair to say, if you're playing this with someone who has played this a lot of times before, you are probably at a solid disadvantage because they know what types of events are in the game coming up. They also might know a little bit what types of craftsmen are in the game, and that is helpful if you want to plan your strategy. I mean, you've seen me as I picked those 2 cards and already said, okay, I think I want to commit to these types of resources. And this is not too atypical for how the game works, where you kind of focus on a specific chain of production to convert these types of resources and just get better at that, and then maybe round that off with cards that generate money, or cards like this here that generates automatic victory points, and all of that.
Yeah. I think I said it all, so we can, if you like, we can give it a rating. Unless you have something to add. Yeah,
I'm thinking hard if I had to pick a game that combines these types of drafting, worker placement. I think I like Fresco a little bit more. Because there's more to it. I think this is the first intro into those mechanisms, but like I said, it's a bit thin once you're really used to how worker placement works and drafting and stuff. Fresco, I mean, we have the big box that comes with all these modules and expansions, and that can be a little bit unwieldy. I think what this game nails is the amount of stuff in the package. So it is not overwhelming in any of its 3 areas of action, selection, drafting, and resource management, if you want to add that to that.
Yeah.
And it's not very luck-based. So
aside from the taxes. And we just don't let Daniel roll.
Yeah, so I might say I think that if you want to commit to one game and play the hell out of it, Fresco might be the better deal if you go for the big box. Obviously, that's a little bit more expensive. However, if you want to have a solid package that covers all those bases, I think I would go with this.
With a little less cost attached to it.
Yeah, and this is specifically talking about games that have this middle age feel or medieval feel.
Yeah, or Renaissance time feel.
Yes. And obviously this is about building and the other is about painting, which might also...
well, first you gotta build, then you gotta paint the insides. It's how it's worked.
I mean, if you could certainly go and build the cathedral here and then move over to Fresco, because now the cathedral has to be made nice from the inside, and that's...
Just saying. Shall we rate?
Yes.
1, 2, 3. Slightly tilted? Yes. For me as well, but that is because I'm a seasoned gamer for the worker placements, and it's a tiny, tiny little thin for me. But again, I'm probably not the target group for it. Still, it's a very cute game.
Yeah, it's certainly one of the games that, for me, is very much in the ballpark of, if someone comes up and says, hey, I really like to play this, do you want to join us? I'd probably say yes and enjoy my time here.
Somebody's not familiar with those mechanics and you want to teach somebody and not sit there and explain rules for 5 hours. I would put that one on the table.
If I want to have a game that is about a specific of those mechanics present in the game, I probably would go to something else that is more specialized on that and has a deeper kind of thing going for it. So maybe something like Seven Wonders, if I want to go for something that is really
more drafting or lots of water deep, if I want to go worker placement. Yeah. But like I said, this is a beginners and just feel the waters and see if people like those mechanisms. New gamers or young gamers, I would definitely put this on the table. And, just because it's so fast to learn and to play. So, yeah. Shall we move into the last section, funny stories and experiences?
So, actually, because I'm always messing that up, if I see this correct, I have to say 10 years later... Michael Rieneck and Stefan Stadler, good job. Also, Michael Menzel, good job on making this look awesome. Yeah.
Well, you only got it last year, so...
Yeah.
It's 3 months, not even 3 months since
that thing you did over 10 years ago?
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to complete the collection. You get the new stuff, I get the ones... to complete the stuff. Anyway, funny stories, experiences.
I just want to add to that. We also, and now I have to score my mind for the English name of it.
Tore der Welt?
Would it be the Gates of the Earth?
No, it's not what it's called in English, but I'm going to have it at the screen down in the it's, that one.
We also have that one, and while that is also an enjoyable game, if I had to pick between two, I prefer this one. Yeah. Simply because it is the better package. It feels more streamlined to me. There's less fiddling around. Although I like parts of the. You also have something here that you advance in the other game.
Yeah, but the other one has way more luck involved, and you're not a big. Lover of luck-based games.
So if you want to pick a game based on a Ken Follett novel, which might be a strange kind of condition for picking up games, but I would recommend Pillars of the Earth to give that a try first. Yeah.
So now for real, funny stories, experiences. Let's hop into it. So we played it first, just the two of us. I think it was over Christmas. You were on vacation. We played it during the daytime, I remember. So it must have been around Christmas because there you were on vacation. We played it first then. And I think it was when my mom was here, second Christmas day or something. We played it with her, I remember. And my mommy is only very slowly progressing to being well, maybe not a casual gamer anymore, but more, she's on the verge of being a seasoned gamer. So she has played a couple of Euros, also the more heavy ones. But this one, I think, was even for her a bit more of a lighter game. So not to overthink anything. Usually with Euros, she sometimes has the problem that there's just so many options, and to narrow down which one you want to go with, like everybody does. And with this one, I felt she didn't have it, and she enjoyed herself a lot. So that's why I would also classify it more as a beginner's game. But it was really nice to see that playing it with 2 players, and I think New Year's Eve we even played it with 4, with Tina too. She also has the problem, like every other gamer, of oh my god, so many options, what can I do? We all were very unstressed. It might have been because of the champagne in the system, because New Year's Eve, very relaxed.
The Englishman would call it.
Yeah, that too.
That's typical German. It's like instead of using the proper word, it's just using the opposite and negating it.
Yeah. No.
Please unstop and...
Where was I?
Go on. You had...
The champagne in the system. We were all super relaxed. So that was one thing that I noticed. And the other thing was that it was, especially with the 4 players, it was very obvious that there is no take that kind of factor in this game. Yes, you only have a few spots where you can have
where you be clashing.
And if I go here first, I'm sorry, suckers, you're not going to be... you have to deal with the event. You don't have a choice there, but... there's only so many places where only one figure can go, and most of them have 2 spots, or every other worker of any player goes here.
And same with the resource cards.
Yeah, so there's not really the point of, I have to make sure that I go first, otherwise the whole game will be screwed. So it's very... very calm. It's not aggressive. It's not, I'm gonna punch you in the face because you destroyed my whole gameplay. There's no such moments at the table. And I really like that.
Oh, well, I have to...
It was very, very...
I have to say this...
unstressful.
It's
a new word now.
However, if you're playing with 4, you will run into restrictions way earlier. I mean, the cool thing, if you're playing this with 2, the drafting part is pretty equal. I mean, you're at least guaranteed to get one of the crafters if you want one. If the first player takes the first one, you can get the other one. If you're playing a 4-player game and you're not the starting player, it might be that everything you actually can use is gone because 3 cards have been taken before it's even your turn.
But then you go here.
Yes, then that spot now suddenly becomes much more valuable. And if you're aware of that, and that might be worth pursuing, and you should. Same goes for the decisions on the board. That tilts the experience a little bit. I still think, as you said, it feels very balanced, and you get a good chance at everything you want to do. But you have to pay a little bit more attention that what others might be pursuing. Are they going for the same resources? So might they pick up the same cards that you want to have? How many workers do they have? And that's what I meant with the 4-player game is a little bit different to the 2-player game. I'd say there's more competition in the 4-player game, whereas the 2-player game is more about your engine optimization with...
Correct, but I still found the 4-player game less aggressive, like, for example...
in comparison to other games.
Yeah, like, 2-player game, lots of Waterdeep.
Yeah.
I found that way more aggressive than this 4-player version here, so that is why I say it's very calm, it's very mellow. It's not the, I want to punch you. It's like the, not optimal, but still I can do something, That is beneficial and not just do something for the sake of doing something. So I found that Well, would I have not known the publisher? I would have been surprised. Cosmos games are very known for being family friendly and teach you something, and not being overly
we now know how to build a
difficult
cathedral.
or aggressive. But yeah, it felt you could play it in school. It was very teachy. Not peachy, but teachy.
I mean, the historical aspects, I think, are very thin. So
No, I mean in terms of how certain gaming mechanisms work.
Oh.
I don't mean the story, but it teaches you how
well,
worker placement works
not-
and what you have to
not-
look for.
I'm not sure if that's what they teach in school these days.
It would be cool
So-
if you. There's more to know than math and physics and whatever language. There's way more. There's
Sure.
social skills. But you don't teach them to kids. But maybe we should start teaching that in school as well, or how to balance a check, or how to.
You teach them at home the social skills.
Yeah.
By playing board games like this one.
Yeah, it would have. When there's family situations where it's a bit difficult, so teaching that in school would actually be pretty nice too.
Yeah.
Social skills. Just saying. Anyway, I overall enjoyed all of the games, and I was kind of surprised, but like, oh, that's so cool. This kind of a surprise that the 2-player, 3-player, and 4-player version played exactly the same. You just have to learn the game once and don't have to learn 500 versions of it, depending on how many players you have.
And we had some games that were really close and tense.
Yeah.
Where
It's like,
it really came down to, okay, who's getting that piece of metal and can use his whatever worker to generate a ton of points. So the what you haven't seen, the 6 rounds bring out new workers and they get progressively better. But the resources they require also might be more involved. So the late game guys here, for example, you have someone who can build an organ, and he takes 1 wood and 1 metal and can generate 6 victory points with that. So you're getting that raise at the end, and specifically the resources that are hard to get, like metal. Are really prime there. So sometimes it's good to try to get them early on in hopes to get one of those guys later. That's what I meant with you're at an advantage if you know what you're doing or if you have played this before. But I think 2 or 3 games and everybody's on the same page when it comes to that.
I would say so too. So yeah, I don't remember any other funny stories, so I'd say that's
sometimes it's good enough.
It's not funny to play.
To say we like this game and you might like it too.
Certainly hope so.
And until the next game, we say subscribe, like, come back. Goodbye.
Happy weekend. You're so nice and warm. I have ice cold hands.
Talking as in church, very quietly.
This is not an ASMR video, so subscribe, goodbye, like, share, have fun. If you have questions or comments, leave them in the comment section below. And now the audio goes brrrr, the rest.
Goodbye, subscribe, like, and see you next Sunday.
Bye, folks.
Critical hit.
In the name of the board game, the victory point, and
the die.
Bye,
and now
folks.
someone is offended because.
Oh yeah, so sorry, but our
goodbye.
Yeah,
we'll cut us out before it's getting more embarrassing.
Yeah. Bye.